All right. Welcome to Founder Office Hours, where Steve and I will gladly sit with you. And if you have any questions on where you're at currently in your business or your life or anything that you feel is holding you back, maybe you're feeling confusion, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe you're needing some clarity in a certain aspect in your life or business to get you to where you are ideally wanting to go. Whatever it is, we're here. And until we get some questions in, we're happily sharing things that we believe will be helpful and educational each time we're here. But we'd love to know. I see we have two people watching. We'd love to know who's here so we can say hi and get a little bit more of an idea of where you guys are at and what you guys have going on. And then we will push forward. Hello, everybody. I see a hi, but I don't see a name, so I'm not sure who you are. We'd love to know who you are if you don't mind typing that in. That would be awesome. Let us know what kind of business you're in too. What do you do? What's your line of work? I have that Frank Sinatra song stuck in my head. Luck be a lady tonight. I'm wearing my lucky shirt. So
Oh yeah, I see it. My mind is always in the Jeopardy music when we ask people to share their thoughts. It's like do 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 do. Do.
that's funny.
We gotta find that for our workshops.
Well, we appreciate you guys watching. It's okay if you don't want to share too much, but we'd love to know who you are, where you're from, what your business is, any current challenges you have. Until then, I believe our topic today, we're going to talk about, is it setting goals? Goal
Yeah, let's
setting?
talk about setting goals. It's the first week of the year. I think it's the right thing to do to set the right tone. And now, before that, I think it's also a really good exercise to do this. It's called a day one exercise. And here's the prompt, right? So, what if today you're back to day one? Okay, what forget everything you have built, right? It doesn't matter where your business is at today, right? Forget what didn't turn out, forget everything. I think as entrepreneurs, I think the biggest asset that we have is actually what we know. It's our brain, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have seen some similar shows where they just drop a billionaire somewhere, like you got nothing, and now you got to go and make $1 million. Uh, so it's kind of the same thing. So if today is day one again, and forget everything you have built, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? What would you build starting from today, and what would you do differently? So here's the prompt. I'm gonna
I
send
love
it
that. I love that prompt so much. Yeah.
on the
And
chat.
that is something I feel like I do like intuitively and very often at this point, but it's so necessary to have that reminder, right? Like it's easy to get lost and get stuck in on a path and forget that you can change. you
Yeah,
can move you can move more consciously, you can move in a smarter way. You can stop. It's okay. And we really should. We should reevaluate. And it's not just with business, right? It's with
life,
everything.
your family,
Yeah.
and it's a spectrum. So we can say, "Oh man, I'm so successful. I got so many things." Okay, let's stop the complacency and let's look at if we start from day one again, what will we do differently? And then the other spectrum is, maybe like, oh man, I really am starting from scratch. I have nothing, but we still have this. So with that in mind, how would we do things differently? Because whatever baggage that we have in the past, there's positives and there's also negatives. So if we throw away the negatives too, it's actually quite freeing.
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely. And we live in such a fear-based world. I feel like the negatives tend to be reinforced if we let them. So going against the grain and reinforcing the positives is just going to benefit you. It's going to help you manifest your goals and the life you want more effortlessly because you don't have that weight.
So I was gonna suggest that maybe we take like 2 minutes, and when everyone's ready, we can share. So those of you who are attending live, you can share. Feel free to share here. And I know Lauren and I, we have done some this exercise actually before, right around year end, and maybe we can share what we thought about.
Awesome. I see Maricel was the one that said hi. Good to see you, Maricel. So happy to have you here. I hope you're doing awesome. We still have two viewers. So let me see if I can get this on here. Okay. And the last bit says, how would you build differently? What would you do differently? I think it's too long. So. That's the prompt. Do, 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 do.
There's a text limit.
Yeah. So whoever is watching, feel free to share in the chat and I'll be happy to share too.
Okay. It's almost time. Lauren, would you like to go first?
Yeah. I was actually meditating a little bit on this before we even jumped on, and I'm happy to share something that I've been navigating in my personal life that may benefit everyone that's watching as well. As high-performing entrepreneurs, we tend to have moments where we are busier and we move as consciously as we can, as proactively as we can, by educating the people closest to us. Hey, just letting you know this is what's going on, etc. And making sure that you're planning your life accordingly. But chaos still happens and things sometimes fall apart or don't work out as planned. It's a part of life, right? And on my personal side, for day one, I want to share this, and it applies to the business, and then I have a business one, but I really want to apply the mindset of if there is any chaos, it's really just a learning moment for everyone. And not to focus on the negative, focus on how you can improve. See it as a challenge and an opportunity to be better next time. It's so easy to get stuck in the fear of, oh, I messed up. Oh, I did this wrong. Oh, or, maybe somebody on the other end, same thing. You could be projecting that outwardly. But at the end of the day, we should take ownership for our lot in life and see it as a challenge to do better and to really focus our energy on that positive side of it, right? So I'm using that with everything currently that I'm working on in my personal world, which is related to business. And then on the business side, I had a list of things, but really at the root of the list of things that I have is to be really, really, really disciplined with focus and where I'm pouring my energy. And a part of that, just so you know what that looks like, is making sure that I'm connecting with aligned people in my life, business and personal, where it's mutually beneficial and healthy. And, you know, focusing my energy on the things that are going to help business growth, personal growth, uh, relationship growth, and then also the Inbox Zero and Second Brain, which you'd be happy to know, Steve, and everyone watching, if you've been paying attention, I'm making progress. So I've gotten rid of quite a bit of my emails, and it feels really good to get that cleared up. So thank you for pushing that. But ultimately, it's just to be more disciplined with focus. So
Very good. Thank you, Sharon.
yeah, we have a comment. And if you don't mind, whoever shared this, we can't see your name. We'd love to know who you are. Said, I would start by gathering information, feedback, and requests from those that are my potential client base to see where they could be served better rather than just starting from scratch. Beautiful. Love that.
Yeah, I would. I love that. My comment on it is, this is the day one question. Is it's a strategic question. It's almost as if say, hey, instead of being the business operator growing in the business, sometimes we're so knee deep into the what's going on. It's hard to detach and really look at the business kind of like a consultant, right? So knowing what I know, if I
Right.
look at a brand new business, how would I do it, and what would I focus on first? What would I prioritize on? And here I'm reading this kind of in between the lines is understanding your client and the audience that you're serving really well, and gaining more information like feedback or surveying, and understanding what exactly they need, so you can number one is to serve them better, and number two is understanding what marketing messages and what copy you're going to use to make it click, so that your marketing is also going to be more effective. That will apply to whatever marketing effort you do, and even word of mouth. So that's how I would read this comment, just based on face value. And I love that. It's going back to the basics, and going back to the core, which is serving your customers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Welcome, Kevin. I'm so happy you're here. I love it. And I'm happy you're sharing too. The more that you guys share, the more we can help. And maybe even we can learn something from you. You never know. We all have our level of genius.
Yeah. So here, for me, I kind of broke this down to like three parts. One is myself, one is family, and one is for work, business at work. So for myself, I think this year I'll be seeking conflicts. I think that's gonna be kind of my main not to just fight, but seeking like healthy conflicts. And
healthy conflicts. Yeah.
I think sometimes if there's depending on whether you're conflict seeking or you're conflict avoiding, where you are on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we try to avoid conflicts, the resentment builds, or maybe it leads to anger and whatnot. And then there's it creates a disconnect in the relationship, because we're not saying everything out, saying everything that's on our mind. While there's some merit to that, because sometimes if you're just saying everything from your mind and it's unfiltered, it may damage your relationship, right? So it's finding that right balance, and I think it's about being intentional in being careful with the words we choose, while we're seeking that conflict. So my approach now is being more intentional, writing down everything I want to express first before I have that engagement and have the meeting or session to share that conflict. That seems to be a little bit better, because sometimes when we're like, if we just hold on to it and it blows up, right?
Yes.
Then we're saying things that we regret saying.
So true. Yeah.
So, and that has just happened to me like this year too. So, just like personal relationship with my wife, like, I kind of blew up. Like, so what happened? So kind of seeking conflict in a more intentional way. With family, I think we're gonna run it more like a business. It's kind of run it like, because there's so many things that need to happen within the family, right? We got bills to pay. We gotta get this done, get this done, get this done. So it's like a business operation. So how do we we were starting to use business tools to manage our family affairs. So how do we really run it like a business? And so I think having better communication and having more regular, like scheduled way of communicating and discussing things, which was, by the way, what the reason we I kind of blew up in the new year. I was like, man, we gotta be doing things differently. Like, I kind of changed my mindset, right? So my wife was kind of caught by surprise, and I go, yeah, because it's a new year. I guess I was intending to do things differently without telling her, which is, I guess, in retrospect, I could do better. And then for work, I think I would focus a lot in lead generation and conversion. And we started quite a bit of the work in like November, December last year. And so just kind of fine tuning that and really, really like focus on kind of driving the high priority and like taking the right actions would be what we want to do, and get like really, really, really good. So whatever we were before, whatever we knew, number one is to establish that, but like really like adding much more expertise into what we are already doing is kind of what we want to do. So building on top of what's already there.
Building like we were talking about yesterday, for the high performance habits, that builds the self-esteem and the confidence, and because you keep building that, right? I know that was kind of vague from yesterday. We were talking about high performance habits, and that was one of the key characteristics and traits of a high performing, successful high performer. All right. And we have on the personal, thank you, Steve, for sharing. I love that. That was great. And I want to give you kudos before I move forward, because you really did move super intentionally through wanting to halt that behavior. And I've personally seen a huge shift in you, and I think you're doing a wonderful job. And I don't know how often you hear that. So I want to give you that recognition and let you know, like, you're doing the work. Yeah, it's awesome, and it's beautiful to see. So all right. Kevin said, on a personal level, I would prioritize myself first by taking care of my physical vessel, then the spiritual daily. Before anything else, I believe those two foster the mental and emotional wellness, created confidence, connection, magnetism, and authenticity. Love that. And I think you also put, let me make sure that was you. It's so hard to see who's who on here. I think you put, love that, Steve Liang, writing things down first so I don't forget them has been powerful. So that's also Kevin. Thank you for sharing that. Frank's driving, but he's here. Hey, Frank. Good to have you. Thanks for listening in. Yeah. Love your notes here, Kevin. That's awesome.
Cool. So let's I was thinking about moving to the next piece, Lauren. What do you think?
Let's do it. I'm ready when you are.
So the next piece, let's talk about goal setting. And it could be different area, it could be on your business. It could be personal. Maybe we can focus on business if you only have to choose one. But really, it's, I guess my intention is free form. So if you want to do it all, you can. And so if we think about your business or any particular area you want to focus on too in your business, what goal do you want to set by the end of this year, right? This is just a perfect timing because we're at the end of the first week, and I hope everyone had a fantastic week. So, knowing what we know now from the day one exercise, right? Kind of doing things a little bit differently is where do we see ourselves at the end of the year? And usually the best practice is to set a goal, right? That's more realistic and still challenging, and then also have a stretch goal, something that you feel like, oh man, I'm kind of feeling nervous. Can I do it? And I think by focusing more on the stretch goal, it's we can reach more.
I love that.
So let's take a few minutes. I have like 2 area at least I want to work on. We'll work on it together.
Great. I love it. And Sandra, just real quick, Sandra, thank you for your feedback too. She put, so true, avoidance is crippling. Happy to have you guys here. Happy we're able to help. All right. So what goal do you hope to reach by the end of 2024?
So maybe to kind of spread the love and the methodology we use at work is they talk about 4. It's called the balance scorecard that I learned from our executive John. He says, think about it in 4 areas. So I'm going to share it here on the chat. It's customer, finance, processes, and continuous improvements. So from a customer standpoint, what do you see? Finance standpoint, what do you see? What kind of processes? And in terms of continuous improvement, you can either think of it in terms of improving the existing processes, but if you have a team, then it applies much better. Actually, it's about improving ourselves too. How do we continue to improve ourselves and what we are capable of? Same thing for our team's competency, so that it drives the growth of everything else. So it's about people improvements.
Love it.
Okay. So I'm thinking maybe 2 more minutes.
Cool. That the alarm saying it's time.
Oh, it was a phone call.
Oh.
For the first time, I don't have a spam call. But it's just a phone number. I don't know if you guys experience this, but even sometimes when it's not a spam call, you pick it up, it's still a spam call.
Oh gosh. I experienced that more on like social media.
Hmm. Okay, so like maybe 20 seconds more. Okay. How do you feel, Lauren? You got something?
Yeah, I'm a go big or go home person. Steve knows that about me. I always have big goals. So I my first like all the way to Saturn goals, I really just filled up what I could like to my like in an intentional way, like what could I handle the most capacity wise and still do a good job. And I was curious what the money would look like the earnings from that. So I calculated that. I don't know if we want to go into specifics, but I calculated intentional pause clients. So that's the basically a reset, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I calculated coaching clients for the 12-week coaching and then the level up club. I don't know how detailed we want to get, but
But
I
you got it. You got a financial number.
I got a number. I have a number of like how many people I can handle. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to have more than a certain number of coaching clients at once. I think it's a little in my mind irresponsible unless you have somebody else who's going to help coach them, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not able to give them your intentional energy. So my crazy out of the park number is over 1 million. And my realistic numbers close to 200K.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, in order to make that happen, you kind of mentioned a little bit on the limitation on manpower side.
yeah.
So kind of being able to be mindful of, so you got a number where you can serve by yourself, right? And once you start getting close to that number, now you know it's time to recruit and train somebody who can, right, and kind of duplicate what you do. So I would say like even when you are maybe even 50%, 25% of of that number, it's time to start looking, because good people are hard to find and hard to train and hard to retain.
True. Yeah, absolutely. Valuable feedback. Thank you.
Another comment I wanted to make, again, it's just sharing what I'm learning from John, is that, and I have seen it too, is when you ask your team, if you have a team, multiple teams, to give you a goal to go bottom up, they tend to come up with goals that it's very easily reached.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen that. And for the longest time, I'm like, how do I, help them stretch? And a lot of times the goal should be top down. So you got to give them the goals and then challenge them to maybe change the way they operate to reach that number. Because I think, especially when they're in operations, they see like, oh, well, if I can do 100, then the most I can do is 120. They're thinking about a percentage increase. Whereas entrepreneurs, we are looking at things differently. Like, I'm always looking at adding an extra zero to what we're doing. So going by 1,000, like, you got to scrap a lot of the stuff that you're currently doing, because you're not going to be able to hit that extra 10 times number. And so kind of that goal setting and all that setup. Now we got to be careful when you're throwing a number that's so high, and then they see it's impossible. Then there's also like it becomes a push and pull kind of,
scares people.
Yeah. And I would say, when we're trying to add an extra zero to the number kind of 10 times, we need to get involved too. Like, there's no way, I would just like, here's the 10x number, and then I just watch them do it. Like, I would roll up my sleeves too, kind of show them the way so they actually believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Valuable advice. I think I had a bit of that with that one VA that I had temporarily, because I put my Saturn goals up there, and I think I may have maybe scared her a little bit. In hindsight, I see that very clearly.
It could be other things too. Typically, man, there's so much nuance with dealing with team play, right? Team members and a team. If you hire for in the purpose of outsourcing and getting some of your operations done, they're gonna think about getting the things done and not necessarily worrying about what we worry about as entrepreneurs, which is the revenue, right, and profits.
Right.
And that's gonna be okay for the time being, in the short term, because you're just trying to free yourself up so you can work on higher level tasks, because your business is so busy. And then kind of changing their mindset to think about operations and activity numbers to result oriented. I find that it's a change management, and I have gone through that several times now. I wouldn't know it. I'm an expert in doing this. Like, so I think if I were involved, I can help out. I think I would know what to do, because every situation is also kind of different. But I don't have I wouldn't say I have a formula like, this is what you gotta do.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And anybody watching, we'd love to know what your goals are if you want to share with us. It doesn't have to be money goals. It could be anything, truly.
Yeah. So I can throw a couple of examples. Our marketing team side, which Lauren, you're quite involved in kind of the team operations, and we're basically consulting and kind of trying to turn the marketing department into an agency. So and turn it into a profit and loss, right? A unit. And so in terms of customers, it's about being able to do lead generation. So if we kind of look at So serving clients is, I don't even care how many clients there are, but like our capability of generating leads. I set a number, and just a aggregate number for across all the customers, I guess. And we're looking at internal clients and also external clients. From an agency standpoint, we would need to have some competencies and processes in helping launch products, and also kind of consulting on their marketing infrastructure, and kind of guide them from step one, which is identifying your target audience, all the way to conversion, right? Lead capture, conversion, and how do we build an upsell? So entire growth funnel. Finance, have a profit goal, because we want this to be a profit center. And then continuous improvement. I only listed some of the trainings I have in place, and I don't have recruiting here. But now that we're talking about it, I would add the recruiting. Recruiting, because recruiting and training is big. Now, if you're listening to this and I think entrepreneurs, we suffer a lot in resource deprivation, right? We are always trying to grow more or grow faster than the resources that we have at hand. And so I think about how you can leverage people around you, so either coaches or consultants that can step in and maybe kind of look at your business with outsider mindset, especially when it comes to the business infrastructure, right? As entrepreneurs, I think when we were starting out, we are very good at growth, right? Serving our clients, right? And getting new business. But the HR side, the finance side, the processes side, operations side, how do we scale? It's a learning curve that we have to overcome. And so I found that the easiest way is to bring in consultants, like people who have done it and are smarter than me in that area, just soak in and learn from them. So I would recommend that. So, the most important thing is for us is to set the goal and go, okay, how do we do it? And when I set a really big goal, everything else is just like, okay, because I'm trying to reach this goal, all of this makes sense. So I'm willing to do that in order for me to hit that goal.
Love it. Love it so much.
I don't know. It's I don't know if it's too abstract, and maybe sometimes we need more examples. So if you want to talk more detail, I'm happy to do that too.
What I've noticed in my journey thus far is I tend to effortlessly attract the right people. And I'm not saying that that's the right way, but it tends to happen where I will connect with someone who is able to help me in the ways that I need the help because they're genuinely wanting to help. And once I get to know them better, they're very aligned with my values and I'm able to see that. And once I get to that point of trust, I'm able to really push forward with them. And those kind of partnerships, those kind of relationships where you're either working with someone who has an expertise in an area that you don't, or it's a mentor. Well, it's all of them are going to be that way, like a mentorship, or maybe it's like a firm that I don't know if it froze or what happened there, but
yeah, there was a freezing. But I don't know if I was freezing or you were freezing.
I have no idea. But
No,
anyway, every single one of those connections and relationships that I've been aligned with, and I think that even the ones I didn't fully align with, to be blunt, I still learned a lot and still got a lot of value from the lessons. So, I mean, you're going to learn a lot by partnering and working with other people. It's not you can work alone. It's not impossible, but I've learned and grown the most when I haven't, when I've allowed others to be, I guess, that guiding force in a way. And when it's somebody that you mesh so well with, it doesn't feel like you're even really working. It's like
Yeah,
hanging with like a friend, you know?
yeah. And I want to share a trick that I learned years ago, and some of you may know this. And if you haven't applied this, I think this is the year to do it. And it's called bartering. And
Yeah.
bartering, it turns out to be a really effective way for small businesses to leverage other people to grow. Like there's, let's say you're a contractor, right? And you can offer your services. Like let's say you build a deck for somebody in exchange for other services that they can do that you can leverage to grow your business. For example, like there's a play, like there are people who are interested and willing to barter, especially in the this is an aside. Maybe I don't talk about the aside, so kind of maybe stick with the core. Is that bartering is a very common form of exchanging services, instead of just always thinking about money and oh, I don't have enough revenue to pay
Yeah.
for this service. So how so thinking outside the box, that's all really what it is. You have a goal you want to reach. I don't have enough money, but I have this like specialty and expertise. Maybe I can offer that in exchange for someone else's expertise. And all of a sudden now you can leverage this new expertise, and now you can move your needle to a higher place, and get closer to your goals. And then there are other things like you're building a network where
Yeah.
you can also go, okay, oh yeah, I have
Yeah.
this, within my network, I can help you with this thing. Now I'm talking to somebody else, maybe let's say I need legal advice, where I can talk to an attorney and see if we can negotiate a deal by kind of connecting them, different services. So it's some people scoff at the idea and thought of bartering, and um, but I don't see that. I see it's a very effective way for small businesses to grow, especially when we are resource constrained. Like to me, offering business consulting and kind of strategy advice and coaching is like it's very easy for me. Like I just need, because I already have mastery in that, and but there are so many things I'm not good at. So how do I do that? How do I get those extra resources? I thought that's a brilliant way to expand our our resources and our network.
Yeah. There was a video that was playing the other day to kind of add on to what you're saying about that. And I think it was Warren Buffett.
Mm.
He did a bit of bartering in the beginning of his like growth and expansion and wanting to get to where he's at now. And the gentleman that he ended up helping out, I can't remember the details and I don't want to tell you something that's not true, but he was very conservative in how he did everything. And Warren learned, I think, from that experience how to be more abundant minded and to kind of grow beyond that. And you see where he's at today. So it, like I said, you can learn from good and bad. So having that mindset too is, I think, key as well.
Yeah, I think and if I go a little bit deeper, money is just a resource. When I look at
Right.
money, it's like a form of energy, and it's just an agreed upon way for people to exchange for stuff. Like it's a common thing that we can exchange for. So it's we tend to develop a mindset of like, oh, I want to make more money, but money in and of itself has no value, zero value. It's the what we can exchange it to that has value. So it's perfectly okay to forego that medium and directly exchange values too, and that's where bartering comes in.
Yeah. if I remember correctly, I think this gentleman was like burned by somebody or something along the lines of that. So I think he was just scared. He was letting that fear take him in the opposite direction. He had more of a lack mentality. And so he wasn't doing as much as he could have because of that. And I don't know the details, so I don't want to say something that's not true, but it's interesting, right? Um, we learn as we go, and we realize that even those moods that we get in are transient. Like that guy may have changed after that. Maybe he saw Warren grow and he's like, maybe I should be more open-minded to certain things. And we meet people at certain times where they're at a certain level in their own growth. And it doesn't mean that they're necessarily bad people or there's something innately wrong with them. It's just that's where they're at in their journey. And there's still a lot to learn from people, even when they're in a stage where they may not get you a specific revenue goal. You may learn a lot in your spiritual growth or your personal growth. So there's always something to be seen in a positive. We have money is a symbol of the life energy we give and the life energy we receive as a result of the service we provide to others. Deepak Chopra. Absolutely. Not sure who that is, but thank you for that quote. I love it. I'm looking to see who you are.
Yeah, we're always thinking about win-win. And I think especially now with the COVID induced recession, right?
Yeah.
We're kinda in this phase, right? The interest rate has been going up, although it's not that high. Mortgage rate has come down a little bit lately. We have I would say the credit has tightened much more than 3 years ago, right? When we had like 0%, close to 0% interest rate. But it's also not that bad, not as bad as back then when we had like 18% interest rate, right? But the credit has certainly has tightened. And so while there's not great abundance of liquidity and credit out there, so okay, maybe we don't necessarily need money per se to exchange our services. That's all. I think I beat that horse to death. I think we all did. Anyway,
Well,
you want to keep going? We can keep going.
I think it's a good thing to talk about, though, especially in the economy that we're in. We will limit ourselves if we believe that money is the only way to achieve anything. So,
and I think that's why we wanted to share these messages within our community, right, Lauren? So as a community, can you imagine if we adopt that mindset completely, and we all, obviously you can use money to exchange services and stuff too. But if we also add bartering to what we do, all of a sudden, I think we have much more value that's being created, because I think there's more value being created when we can make a deal happen. And it doesn't necessarily need to be limited by like, this much by this much. Mutual exchange, we can enrich each other's lives. And I see that as a path for growing a vibrant community, actually.
It's the you don't know what you don't know energy. That's how I see it. And no one really talks about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think
like it's not being talked about.
Yeah,
we're glorifying the wealth, right? The money people have.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, how healing is it too to allow somebody to serve with doing the things that they love, even if they're not, in a stage where they're getting whatever XYZ out of it. It's still feeding them. It's still helping them heal or grow or expand on some level, and that alone is a gift. And unity right now too is a huge gift in such a polarized world. It's like And maybe that's why no one's talking about it. Instead, everyone's highlighting our differences and like, if they don't give you money, you should leave them. You know, that's what the energy feels like. That's not what people are saying, but that's what it feels like, you know?
There are some polarizing voices that really
Mhm.
express that.
Mhm.
And I don't want to argue or necessarily disagree, but there's something more than money. And I think when we reach a
Absolutely.
certain point of wealth, we'll realize that, money doesn't get you anything. Like money does not buy you loyalty. Money does not, you know, after a certain point, like
Right.
you don't need to worry about food and law and housing and all that stuff. Like money
Right.
is money can create more problems. Like really, more money, more problem. So kind of the culture of glorifying what money can buy, and maybe what I'm trying to say is like we want to stay grounded in how we treat people, and not like, because I think there tends to be attitudes or energies about like judging people by how much money they have and all that, and I think that's a very limited way of looking at the world and things.
Yeah.
I don't know
Beautifully.
how else to express it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And also, you know, putting money in the hands of the people who see the world in the way that you just mentioned, right? And those are the people that I feel like I align with the most, the heart-centered founders, the ones who have more of a mission and want to impact the world in a positive way. It's not about money for them. It's about what kind of change or impact can I have to help another person, or to really, I don't know if it's freezing again, but to really get to, it's beyond you, right? It's not about your ego. It's not about materialism. It's not about what's
Yeah,
in your bank account. It's about the impact.
yeah. Money is quite shallow if we are just chasing money for the sake of adding more number to it. I do think joy and happiness, right, and what gives us purpose is much more meaningful, much
Absolutely.
more fulfilling. And I would also share that a lot of times as business owners and entrepreneurs, there's at least where my head is at right now, where my mindset is at, there could be conflict between, because you do need money, right, to run a business,
Right.
and, right, and you got payrolls, you got fixed costs, you got pay, you got variable costs too, and then on the other side is what can we achieve as an organization, as a group, that's more than what money can sustain. And I find that from a performance and culture standpoint, when we are not just focusing on money, but more on what we can achieve, it's more there's much better motivation, intrinsic motivation within the team, and people are happier.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
like that. It's
we
like
have
that
had
lesson.
at one point in time, I think our organization was getting more focused on money and the pay and all that, with that more of that energy, and I thought, and the culture went to crap. There's no way to say it, and so kind of turning that around and changing that to more mission based and serving people, has been a big change in a big, really positive way for us.
Beautiful. I love that. It reminded me of, again, from yesterday, the book High Performing Habits from Brendon Burchard. He was saying that he went and interviewed a ton of high performing, successful entrepreneurs, and really he wrote a book about his findings. And I shared a little bit of it yesterday. I wanted to share like 5 hours of it, but we only had an hour. And one of his key takeaways was And I think it's them finding what you're saying, Steve, in the process, right? One of his key takeaways was the most high performing entrepreneurs that are successful and happiest, or they tend to be also the happiest. Their lives are happy, they have fulfilling relationships, their bodies are healthy, their minds are positive. You know, every single part of their life is uplifting. And a part of that is stepping away from the ego and seeing outside of yourself and seeing how much you can help someone other than your bank account, right? So just wanted to share that. Thought it was applicable and kind of add on from yesterday at Level Up Club. So cool. Well, we didn't get to hear anybody else's goals, but everyone knows they know a little bit of my goals and I suppose a little bit on yours. And we hope that you guys got a ton of value from today and hopefully you have some clear goals that you're working towards. It's really about who we become along the way, right? That's always been the deepest core reason for why I do what I do, is to be the best version of myself and constantly challenge myself to be that version of me and to give back my learnings along the way, right? And lead by example for my daughter and everyone around me. And I learn so much from the people around me still continuously, day in and day out. So it's what it's about. These goals pull us out of our egos, out of our concerns about the mundane. And when we focus our energy on the things that matter and the things that align with our mission and what we're really working towards, there's no better drug on this earth to be in alignment with that. So
as always, Lauren, maybe we should end with appreciation, gratefulness and appreciation.
Yeah, I love that. I'm not sure who said this. I see you guys rock. Thank you for your time and energy as always. Oh, thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody who shows up and who's here with us as well. Thank you for your time and your energy and your heart.
And we appreciate you sharing and sharing your thoughts on your comments, and it really enriches our conversation too. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I appreciate you, Steve.
Thank you
for always allowing me to see beyond in both directions. It's never in one way, and I feel you've set a really good example through the work that you do on yourself, and I appreciate you and your consciousness and your intentionality.
Thank you. I appreciate your feedback yesterday that you gave me on both your learnings and also your feedback on how I can be better. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right. Lots of love all around. Thank you all. Friday.
Thank you guys for being here. Y'all have an awesome rest of your day and a good weekend.
Good weekend.
Again, Happy New Year. Have fun conquering your goals.
See you next week.
Bye, you guys.